The Paracave Podcast, proudly brought to you by major sponsor Jack's Pale Ale, exclusively available at Parramatta Leagues Club, Shannon Cooney from Glenmore Park Realty, BTZD Clothing, and the official media partner of the Paracave Podcast, the Parramatta Times.
G'day, it's Gus Walland here from Gotcha for Life and Triple M. I'd love to invite you along to the Mental Fitness Gym. Go to the mentalfitnessgym.org. That is a place where you can pick up some exercises to build your mental fitness, to work on that emotional muscle, those muscles in your head that are so powerful. Please come and join us at the mentalfitnessgym.org for all that stuff to build your emotional muscle and your mental fitness.
Welcome to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. And now over to your host, Troy Warner, broadcasting live from the world-famous Paracave.
And yes, hello and welcome back to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. This is the part 2 of the Steve Carter interview. Part 1 was released a couple of days ago, so I really hope you enjoyed that one. And now we will get straight into part number 2. Enjoy. Well, unfortunately, Penrith don't make the finals until the Superleague era, but what was that Superleague time like for yourself? Was it a difficult time, an easy time? I've spoken to a few players who played in that era, and they just basically said that they signed with the club that they were playing at, whether that be ARL or Superleague, because they wanted to stay with their mates and play footy. Is that the same for yourself?
Pretty much. I was watching actually Lachlan Murdoch's story, Australian story the other night, and they touched on it, and it was a bizarre period. It wasn't much fun. I think it was 12 months, was it? 1 year?
Yeah, the 1 year that they had the competition. I think it initially sort of started in 1995, and then there was court battles left, right and centre. And
Oh, they were mailing out. So, and that's exactly right. Roger Cowan, he was dominated, very motivated, good businessman and motivated by the dollar. So initially we were the ARL, and at the time I think it was $100,000 loyalty check come in the mail, the ARL, and then Roger got approached by News Limited later, and they obviously give him a better offer.
Yeah.
So he did a U-turn and went to Super League. And all of a sudden I had to sign another loyalty agreement. So I had two $100,000 checks.
Nice.
And I said, what have I got to do with this one? Can I keep them both? And unfortunately the answer was no. You've got to send that one back. But it actually went to the IRC, the Industrial Relations, and I had to go there and actually, and so did the Adamson brothers, because we all did it. And I was the only one they sort of accepted, signed because I'd been there a fair while. I signed based upon that I wanted to stay with my club, whereas the likes of poor old Tower and Matty, they said, no, well, you are just trying to wangle better money and all this sort of stuff. But they were, in the end, allowed to stay. And it was a crazy time, but we had a pretty good team and we performed pretty well. It was hard to line it up, obviously, because some good sides in the ARL, but that Brisbane side were a very, very good outfit. They beat, I think, Cronulla 30-0 or something. I think Newcastle might have won the ARL one. But yeah, it wasn't much fun because the game's really about the fans, and they just the big picture, I think, was good for the game, because I think the previous administrators probably hadn't administered it as well, or especially like business-wise. They were football people, Arco and Quayle. Quayle's more businessman, but there was opportunity there in TVs and whatnot. So in a way, it helped the players because. And we got bagged because of the inflated or increase in salaries. But when you think about it, you get 10 years if you're lucky. Like, not even some people, and even the money that you can earn in a footy career doesn't come close. And like myself, I wasn't trained, so I seen it as a good thing for long term
Okay.
for the
Yeah,
players, the game, the media, and guess what? The game's grown, and
that's right.
so without that, we could have been still like once upon a time, AFL, like not long ago, the administration of the AFL was always, I reckon, above. But
Yeah.
I reckon that we're neck and neck with them now with a lot of things. So yeah, there's some good that come out of it, but I feel for the fans because the players will playing in 5,000 crowds and all this, and um, it wasn't much fun other than our bank accounts were a bit healthy.
Yeah, no, that's true. What about the time period where there was a little bit of talk about a possible Penrith Parramatta merger? What was that
Well,
time like?
I think that was Roger at work again,
Okay, yeah,
trying to allocate or take opportunity to maybe reduce the funding. Or I'm pretty sure Roger was open to that. But as you know, like there's just so much room for both of the out west. It's just crazy. So I think that was probably Roger
okay,
probably exploring
yeah.
those
I
opportunities.
think there was a little bit of Dennis Fitzgerald as well, to be honest.
Well,
But
yeah, right. Put their heads together and try to do a bit of rationalisation and save some money. But nobody else, including me and you, would have agreed
no,
with it.
no, definitely not. Definitely not. I don't think I could support a team called the Parramatta Panthers or the Penrith Eels or something like
There's-
that. I don't know.
and there's healthy hatred there, I
Yeah,
call
that's it.
it.
That's it. It's one of the greatest rivalries in rugby league, I think. Penrith and Parramatta.
Oh, they were always the hardest game every year, irrespective of whether we were battling or Para were battling. You knew it was only going to be 2 or 4 points, and it dragged them down 10-8, 12.
Yeah.
So yeah, they were really good.
Any standout Parramatta Penrith games stand out for yourself?
There's a couple at Parramatta Stadium actually. Yeah, it was 12-8, wet, sloppy games. I think Brian Smith was coaching them. Just hard, but you had some hard players, Hindy and Kalis and um, some of them fellas. 5'8". Smith, did he play at Para? Did he? No,
Jason
yeah,
Smith, he did.
Jason.
Yeah,
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 yeah, like really raw bone, tough players that you run into them, you shit. Um, but there's probably 3 or 4 games like that,
yeah.
they'll always just, as I say, even if we were going well or Para were going well, it was just never. It was never right. We got this one.
Okay, yeah. No, well, my favourite games of the year are Penrith and Parramatta at Penrith Stadium. I actually live in Penrith, so
Okay.
being a Parramatta fan, it's a little bit difficult in these recent times. But no, they're my favourite games of the year at Penrith, and we now see that Penrith Stadium is going to be renovated, demolished, and rejuvenated into a brand new stadium. But what was your favourite Penrith Park memory, either playing or watching a game there?
Well, mate, I go back when I was 12-year-old. I played for New South Wales schoolboys against Queensland at Penrith Park, and
Okay, wow.
just come up the other week when we went down to the old boys because it was the second last game before they do the new version, and I was talking to someone. And I said, "Well, I can recall, and the Panther was there. There was nothing. The hill was the
Oh,
hill, and
the
there was
Panther scoreboard.
yeah. So that always, and it was a tough game, very tough game against Queensland. 2 points or something. As a 12-year-old, toughest game of football I ever had, and I'd probably played 100 before already. But then just going back down there, I remember we played S3 ball, and those races they'd have before first grade against different
Yeah,
teams,
yeah. The different.
sprinting races,
Yeah,
real.
yeah.
I remember that when I hadn't even got into grade yet, sort of thing. And but just the old feel. It'd be a bit like Cumberland and those sort of fields. But they've done a good job on Parramatta. I hope they keep it like that. Closeness with
Yeah.
the crowd, because I've never been to the new Para one, but I want to go, and it looks like it's still a good experience.
Yeah, no, it is. It's one of the best stadiums in Australia to watch rugby league or any rectangle sport, but definitely rugby league. Well, no doubt you'll get an opportunity over the next 2 years because the Panthers are going to be playing there for the next 2 years. So maybe we'll catch up for the Penrith Parramatta game. And
Yeah, hopefully the old boys' day is not on the same day. There could be trouble.
yeah, true. But speaking of the old boys' day, how important is it to stay in touch and with your former teammates and even after retirement? And no doubt at these old boys' days, catching up again, the stories get better and the tries get longer and stuff like that. And but just how important is it to stay in touch with each other?
Yeah, you don't get it when you're playing. And we didn't get it, and the current players now won't get it until they have kids and they have grandkids, and that's yeah, because the grandkids don't get to see what you achieved, and even our kids. Like I had two boys and a girl, and they were. Oh, the eldest was about 4 or 5. One day I kicked the ball out, and he was playing up for his mother, and he hit him on the head. Never. That was probably last year. He wouldn't sit down or he wouldn't do something, and then I've kicked for touch, and it's knocked him ass over head. So he was only little, so they don't really understand what you did. So it's good. And this weekend, the club's getting me down to do a presentation with Isaiah for the club records.
Yeah, nice.
They're treating me and my family really well, accommodating us and flying us down and whatnot. So I want to make sure the grandkids can go there, just not to big note myself, just to see that there is a connection and that they stay loyal to Penrith.
Yeah.
Keep them well and truly brainwashed. I got a couple of pops on the other side to go for the Tigers and different clubs. So yeah, no, it's good for them to see that Pop did all right, and even with the players, you sort of, as every time you go back, we have banner, but there's a lot of respect for each other, even through the generations.
Yeah.
There's some fellas there who played in the late 70s and early 80s, and I had a real good yarn with them and sort of said, geez, you would have did it tough through that period, poor buggers. And then the '03 side, I had several beers with Trent Waterhouse and Sats and a few of the fellas. So there's just a real the respect grows because you know how hard it was between the generations, and the likes of South Sydney and St George and Parramatta's a bit older than Penrith, but you can see how that can only help the club, the family of the club it is. So, likes the loyal supporters like yourself, and can be part of that too with the different occasions. So.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you just mentioned Isaiah Yeo there, and he's unfortunately going to break your playing record of 243 games this weekend in the prelim final against the Sharks. What sort of a player is Isaiah? What do you see in Isaiah as a player?
Yeah, I just see well, he's not a fancy player, but he's a skillful player. He's a tough player. He's durable. I suspect that everyone in that team would love playing with him. There's no risk. And that's probably his bigger compliment you can get from your teammates. Oh, I love playing with you. If you hear that, you don't need to hear anything else. But when I retired and at my testimonial, Roy sort of did a speech and made a bit of an analogy about myself. I'd come to Penrith when it was a big country town, and when I left in 2001, it had become a city. And Isaiah's from Dubbo, and he's come as a young fella again, and it was a city, probably back in the 12, 14 years ago. But mate, you go there now, and it's just grown and
yeah, absolutely
flourished. The whole area of Penrith. So, and like the town, Isaiah's done the same thing. He's just matured and been a leader. And the club's now in a position where, there's a lot of respect in the rugby league community. As I say, once upon a time, Parramatta and Penrith were the Westies, and Phillip Street, we got forgotten about a fair bit.
Yeah.
Fitzy would have been in touch with him a bit more than Roger, but particularly Penrith, we were virtually outcasts now. you can go anywhere in the world and there's a chance you'll spot a Penrith jersey, which is an indication that that's all turned around. And the likes of Isaiah and this group of players now are a big factor contributing to that. So
yeah, for sure. Well, one of those other players that is playing on Saturday night is Jerome Luai, and Big MG. He said that Steve Carter was the Jerome Luai before Jerome Luai, and trying to get under opponents' skin, and especially Big Wendell Sailor.
Yeah, Jerome's probably a far more skillful player than me. He's got a few more tricks up his sleeve than me, but he's small man syndrome like me probably back in the day against the big fellas. And Wendell was an easy target, mate.
Okay.
I remember playing probably the year after I got him for a penalty. They had the ball attacking our line. We were in a bit of trouble, and I said, "Get the effing back on the wing where you belong, you goose," sort of thing. And people thought I made a racist remark, but that's just not me. So it was more your mentality, you're dumb, you think you're a halfback. And he took offence to it and pushed me, and we got a penalty. And the game up the following year, we had a function after the game with Wayne Bennett, and we'll laugh. And he said, "Steve, what is it with you and Wendell?" I said, "Oh, he's just an easy target." And that's what he said. He said last year he come into the dressing shed after that penalty and the game and said, "That effing mongrel little prick." And Wayne's told me, he said, "Wendell, he's been around a lot longer than you, mate. Just ignore it if you can." But Wayne seen the funny side of how easy Wendell was, particularly in his younger days. But Jerome, he likes a little bit of that. And hopefully he does well next year. He'll earn his money out at the Tigers, and he's getting paid good money. And like even Appy, like he is, to his credit, busted his ass, even though he's earning good money. And I sense that Jerome will be doing all he can to earn his money and try and improve the club at the Tigers. So
yeah, for sure. Well, one of the other things that Big MG said as well, and he gives you a rap as well. He said that you're one of the best ever players that he played with. So that must be pretty humbling to hear something like that from Big MG.
Oh yeah, he's matured. Back in the day, he's had more grandparents than I've ever known anyone from missing training sessions. He's had, I reckon, 24 grandparents pass away in the time. He's had more tonsils than any person or human being I know, because he'd missed about probably 6 training sessions. He tried on each coach as they come. Ronnie Willie, then Sheensy, Ronnie Willie, Gus, then Royce. So yeah, he had 2 lots of tonsils, about 8 all up. So and for him, I don't know how he does it to turn up and be so disciplined, and how he is now with work. He's matured and he's a great man, MG. Good fella.
I think I do remember him saying one story about having an accident on the M4, and I think he would have used that one before as well. But fortunately, one of the trainers, I think this was when he was at Balmain, I think, and one of the trainers actually drove past as well, so he could vouch for the fact that he had an accident. So he's a great bloke, MG. Love him. Some common league questions. Do you have a favourite game that stands out in your career? Doesn't have to be an Origin or grand final, but just one that you really loved.
I'd have to put it down to the 91 grand final, to be honest. Yeah, it was everything that we worked for 91.
Yeah. Other than Penrith Park, did you have a favourite ground that you used to love playing at?
I like I don't know. I like playing at Leichhardt.
Okay. Yeah.
I used to follow Balmain, so I remember running out there when I was about 8 as a kid, and I got lost and ended up crying in the middle of the ground. Mum and Dad are watching us on the sideline laughing. So there I am playing football on that. Memorable.
Yeah, definitely. Did you have one that you didn't like playing at for whatever reason? One you hated?
Didn't really like, Parramatta probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you fans are pretty ruthless, but you enjoyed it. But it's more of a right. It was love hate, I suppose, because we love the challenge, and there's nothing better than someone yelling out, "Carter, you're a wanker," and all that. I don't know why they deter all that. There's a certain line and
Yeah,
language
definitely.
acceptable, but the old banner, people pay their money to get in. If they want to yell and whistle and do what they want, well, go for it. As long as as I say, it's not crossing certain lines.
What was the best sledge that you did hear one day from a fan?
When I was playing schoolboys, God bless him, you've lost him, Kyle White. He was playing with the Catholic schoolboys, and I was playing New South Wales in the championship. So, and I give him a bit of a ruffle up or whatever, and he grabbed me because he was a bit of a psycho, Kyle. um, Josh's older brother,
Yeah.
front row, you remember him, and he grabbed me like that, and he said, "Your mum's a good root." And I said, "You haven't seen my mum, have you? She's about 46 stone." And my mum was a big lady, so. But I thought that's interesting, and I was only 17 at the time. But the sledges, I didn't get too many. I was
Okay.
probably
Yeah.
giving a few out, but I didn't get into the talking sort of bit of it.
The nickname Scarter, I mean, it's probably a pretty easy one. It's the S off your first name and your last name put together, but who came up with that one?
That was Chris Mortimer. I was, played first grade when I was at school still. And I was sitting at the Penrith area watching reserve grade before we go, and someone come along and asked for an autograph. It would have been one of my first ever autographs,
Okay.
and I an autograph. I've never had to do it other than opening a bank. So
Yeah.
I just put S. Carter in running riding, and Chris Mortimer was behind me, looked over my shoulder, he said, "Carter? That's what sort of signature is that?" Well, I don't know. So he said, "Scarter." Right, that's it. And funny how things stick.
Yeah.
So Louis Mortimer nicknamed me that in 1988, I think it was. So,
Great story. Was there a player in warm up or in the sheds that you looked across the dressing room and you thought, yeah, we're on here today. I'm pretty confident we're going to get the victory?
well, there was, but it was a strange sort of indicator. It was Freddie from a very young age. Um, he'd eat anything before a game, and he got nervous, and particularly just before we run out, he'd sometimes vomit.
Okay.
I remember one day we went to Canberra and we stopped at Goulburn and we all had maybe a salad sandwich or something, and he had a big packet of twisties, orange twisties, and we're in the dressing sheds, and Gus was coaching, and just before we're running out, the big serious, righto, we're going to do this, watch this, let's get ready for this, and all this orange twisties come up.
Oh, nice.
So Gus had fun with that. But anytime he got that nervous, and that it was an indicator that he was going to play well, which
Okay.
invariably give you side a good chance.
Did he stop eating twisties after that one or kept on going?
He might have matured as he got older. He was only a young fella.
Is there a player that you wanted to play against but didn't get the opportunity to play against or with?
Yeah, I was lucky enough to play with some really good players like Laurie Daly, Ricky Stewart, and some of them people that we were big adversaries with through the period. But not really. It is what it is. That was my era. There's players now that are be good to play with or play against and that. But no, I pretty much come through with a pretty good era of talent. I think from sort of late '80s to 2000 sort of thing.
Yeah.
And the game started changing a little bit sort of thereafter with the wrestling and whatnot. So yeah, not really, mate.
No, that's fair enough. A lot of people do say that the 80s and 90s are probably the best era of rugby league. So, and you played in that. Who was if you mentioned that you made first grade when you were at high school. But if you didn't go down the rugby league path, what do you think you would have done?
I love numbers. I love maths. Couldn't stand English or anything like that. So I always, my older brother did an accountancy course and ended up working for Telstra and telecommunications. So I always had an interest in numbers and business and economics. And so I was gonna go down the path of an accountant sort of thing because I love numbers. Numbers make sense. So yeah, I think that's the avenue. If I wasn't going to be a footballer, that I wasn't too smart at school, but I was a little bit above average. And
Yep.
but given the way computers and IT and that dominate accountancy, I was talking about ledgers and bits of paper and all that. So I don't know whether that would have happened if when everything changed onto the computers. So.
Yeah, that's for sure. The world is definitely changing. That is for sure. And what's keeping you busy these days?
I work for the Australian Workers Union, the oldest union in Australia. I love it. I grew up working class family, so we look after our strengths, our weakness. We have coverage in vast areas. Sugar mills up here on the north coast, road construction. They're doing a bypass here now. National parks, forestry members. You name it, we cover it. I love it. Try to give people a fair go, and if people have been treated unfairly, it's pretty much how I was growing up. And there is give and take there. So sometimes my members get a bit of dose of reality and education.
Yep.
So I love that, and I couldn't not work because I sort of play the odd game of golf.
Nice.
Don't mind a bit of fishing. I have a beer and a bet, and that's my simple life. And grandkids.
Yeah. Nah, that sounds pretty good indeed. That is for sure. Ever hit a hole in one?
Never. No.
Nah. Okay.
Benny Alexander one day out at Riverside Oaks, he put one in the water and then teed up another one. So he parred free, but it was off the tee. Told him.
Okay.
That's as close as I've seen or
Okay.
heard of one. Benny Alexander.
Wow. Yeah, fantastic. All right, time for the quick top 10, and it's basically sort of a yes or no sort of answer. Barbecue or tomato sauce?
Tomato.
Do you keep it in the fridge or the cupboard?
Cupboard.
Yeah, good man, good man. On a plane, do you prefer the window or aisle seat?
Window.
Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
Yes.
Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Arnold or Sylvester? Sylvester Stallone or Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Sylvester.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, that one. McDonald's or KFC?
KFC.
And just quickly on that, did you have a post-game meal that you always had after a game?
KFC used to sponsor us at Penrith, and I lived in South Penrith, just behind the Pioneer there. And they'd open at 10 o'clock or 9:30, and I'd be getting there because I'd have to get to training, and I'd have a feed before I went to training. And we get 15% off as a sponsor.
Nice.
So
Nice.
that's KFC.
Yeah, well, if KFC wants to sponsor the podcast, they're more than welcome to. Morning or night person?
Morning.
Summer or winter? Which do you prefer?
Winter.
Yeah, okay, nice. Coke or Pepsi?
Coke.
And I think you just answered this last one, beer or spirits?
Beer.
Yeah, nice. Well, time for the set of six, and we'll wrap this up with the set of six, the personality sort of questions. You sort of already mentioned this one, but favourite sport outside of rugby league?
Favourite sport outside of rugby league? Shit.
Maybe to watch, I guess, maybe?
Yeah. Cricket.
Nice. It's coming into cricket season. Favourite holiday destination?
Bali at the moment. Yep.
Yeah, I went there probably 30 years ago for a holiday with the Year 12 lads. Bit of a two-pronged question. First job and first car?
First job was a delivery, packing and delivering with Swedish confectionery. at Penrith. Brian and Robin Stokes, and Narelle now runs it at Kingswood. Mazda 626. Me, MG, Cardi got all them Mazda 6 and 626. They got the sporty version. I got the base level. They were on an extra 40 grand to me.
I think I just heard too that MG, that was when he had his first personalised number plates. He had MG as his number plates, I think, then.
Him and Cardi, the red ones.
Which 3 former teammates do you think you wouldn't want to be stuck on a deserted island with, and why?
Shit, 3 former teammates, deserted island, and why?
Why you wouldn't want to be? Why you wouldn't want them to be on the island with you?
Joey Vitanza.
Oh yeah, Big Joey.
Big Joey. I used to room with him when we were only young. We'll remember numbers 14 and 15, and he loved talking to me about his dog and security. His subjects of conversation wouldn't be that wide or fast. There's not too many. I loved all my old football mates. There's no one I could tell you who I would like to. Paul Smith, the old roomie and card player, Cartwright, full of laughs. I really can't come up with 3.
That's okay. That's okay. Some people like to throw people under the bus, others don't, but that's fine. Now, you're hosting a dinner party. What is the one meal that you would... What's your specialty? What would you cook for them? And which 3 people that you haven't met, either alive or dead, would you invite?
Okay, I'd make a good apricot chicken and mashed potato and sweet corn. And I'd probably Beyonce. I like her. Probably Bobby Hawke.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and probably Roy Simmons, probably. I'm struggling to come up with names.
No, that's okay. Would Bob Hawke have come into the sheds in 91?
What's that? Bobby,
I can't remember.
Yeah. We had fun with Bob because he was from Canberra. Well, he was going for Canberra. He was a Canberra man. And we give it to him. We'll call him all sorts of things. Also, like Bobby Ballbags, get that into you. And we had fun. But he, as Bobby's Hawk, he laughed along with us. Yeah. Copped it on the chin.
Yeah, that's for sure. And the last one, favourite musician or band?
Eagles. Yeah.
What's your favourite Eagles song?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's your favourite Eagles song?
Lion Eyes.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
good old band, the Eagles. Well, Steve Carter, thank you very much for joining me today on the Paracave podcast. A player who I watched growing up play. I spent many a day watching Penrith play, actually, because living in Penrith, I was only down the road from Penrith Park, so I used to get those junior free passes, so I used to go watch Penrith games because it was closer than Parramatta. But thank you very much for joining me on the Paracave podcast today, and hopefully we can catch up next year when Penrith play at CommBank Stadium.
Thanks, Troy. You do a good job, mate. Well done.
Hello, Paracave podcast listeners. My name is Shannon Cooney from Glenmore Park Realty and long-term sponsor of the Paracave podcast. If you're looking to sell your property or buy, or just curious to know what your property is worth in today's market, give me a call today on 0421 588 445.
Well, welcome back to the Paracave podcast, and thank you very much for listening to Steve Carter, part number 2. I hope you really enjoyed both parts, 1 and 2, and I hope you enjoyed the new little sort of format that I was going to do and split the interviews up in half, so they're about half an hour-ish each. Please let me know feedback-wise if that is what you would like. Look, I really appreciate Steve for his time. I really enjoyed his chat. I hope you guys did too. That was recorded a few a few weeks ago now, in late September, early October, before the grand final, as you might have referenced with a few of the chats there, especially about Isaiah Yeo there, breaking Steve's premiership playing record for the Panthers. But look, I really enjoyed that one. I hope you did too. Look, I've got plenty coming up over the next few weeks, as well as I mentioned in I think it was a post or a story the other day about who is coming up. I've got the NRL Roast, I've got Chris Johns, I've got Adam Blair, I've got a gentleman by the name of Glenn Gorick coming on the podcast as well. Had a great chat with him. Used to be a former Sharks director, also worked in the police as well. But look, that was a great chat there. So you might not know him as much, but a really interesting fella. So check that one out, as well as Richie Barnett as well. So a few more coming up over the weeks ahead. So thank you very much for listening. Hope you really enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a 5-star rating and review. Please follow the podcast on Instagram and Facebook, and also tell your family and friends about it as well. Look, I really appreciate the support. I do it for you guys, the listeners. I really love doing that. Give me great pleasure to do that for you each and every podcast. So thank you very much for listening to this one. And look, the Paracave podcast, by the fan, for the fans.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. See you next time.